I was 1.26 million in the hole with personal cash. And my father goes, pull the plug. And I'm like, I'll run this shit into the fucking ground before I give up. And I meant it. And so, but it was this thing that I was going to solve, which is one of the reasons we always look for persistence when you're hiring and whatever.
All right, guys, we've got another one. You guys know this man. A lot of you have seen him across other podcasts as of late. He's been sharing his knowledge everywhere, and it is the wonderful Jason Kutasi. Huh? I didn't fuck that up.
You got it.
So there's like an ongoing joke on this channel where I just fuck up everyone's name. I nail the hard ones, but I fuck up the easy ones. That's how it goes.
It's not that easy for me. I used to get Kutasi all the time. They're like, "Are you Japanese?" And then I show up white as white can be. I'm like, no, there's no Japanese.
I would just mess with people and be like, I'm like a quarter Japanese or something, you know?
Oh.
Just a massive backstory on that. Anyway, welcome, bro. It's been a while. So Jason and I live in the same city now.
Not together.
We're good buddies.
We didn't live
not together. No, we haven't built a Texas-sized compound yet, which would be kind of cool, you know, just like ATV to each other's houses on the opposite side of like 10 acres, you know?
Yeah.
That's the dream. Maybe ride a horse over. Who knows?
Gun racks in the back.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I might transition to cowboy, right? I got to check all those boxes.
You've transitioned pretty far, my friend.
Dude, I am. I mean, I had my parents over last night and just wearing the cowboy boots, a couple whiskeys. I mean, that's just how it goes. That's just how it goes.
So I got to ask you, man, and like, this is just for like personal knowledge. Were you like this in California, or did you just like, have you always like the cowboy stuff? Or are you just like, once you moved here, you're like, you know what? I like it here. I'm going all in.
That's a good question. I've actually never really thought about it. I mean, if you take a look back, like one of the reasons we moved here outside of the obvious like taxes and sort of like how employment and corporate law is in California, like we moved here because I had never had land, right? I grew up in Los Angeles in a very nice neighborhood in a very nice home. And we had a pool and a nice backyard, but I had never had space. And so, I was living in Del Mar and I've lived in Manhattan and, I've always had neighbors. And so like in our house, I can play the music in the backyard as loud as I want. And nobody says shit while I'm floating in the pool with a beer. And I don't know. I think maybe I just have this, maybe it's part of my midlife crisis. That's what I tell my wife, right? I'm like, so I can either have an affair by a motorcycle, start gambling, or transition to cowboy. And I think might be a little bit of Yellowstone too, right? Maybe it was the Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's fair.
You're some badass. So maybe I need to transition to Rip.
Dude, like honestly though, I get it. And just being here. So I was talking to my barber the other day and he's like putting an offer in on a house and he was like showing it to me. And like the house is like a very average looking shack, but it's on 5 acres. And I'm like so excited for him. I was like, dude, that's so cool. And he's like, yeah, he's like, it's farm exempt and like all this stuff. He's like, I only pay like $1,800 in taxes a year on this. And like for guys like in Texas, that's really low. Like on $1 million, you're paying like 20 G a year, 2% on taxes. Yeah. So it's quite a bit, but like, he's like, telling me, he's like, I just got to have a couple chickens. And he's just like, I got 5 acres. There's nothing on it. And he's like, this is my driveway. I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm down with that. I think like, as you get older, you don't, I wouldn't say you dislike people more, but you like your alone, quiet space a lot more. Yeah. 100%. Maybe you dislike people. I don't know, but
it's 100% true. So in where we live, so we're on a few acres and the backyard is only cleared to this fence area. And I told my wife, I was like, I really think we need to clear out the rest of it. And she's like, what are we going to do with it? I'm like, I'm going to stare at the land that I own. And she's like, that just makes you feel good. I'm like, yeah, I can see more of the stuff I own. I'll stop before I become a redneck, but just that's the line in the sand.
Yeah, I mean, like, based on the industry that you're in, I think it'd be pretty challenging for you to become a redneck because you still gotta go to, like, all these summits, you gotta go to Vegas, you gotta do all this stuff, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like, you gotta hold on to reality a little bit.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, me again, just letting you know that the next Advanced Affiliate Mastermind is coming up on June 26th and 27th. We're almost just a month away here, and it's going to be a good one because we are going to be in sunny San Diego. Look, this is the home base of the event when it originally started. That's where the first one happened. So if you want to roll through, please slide into my DMs, send me a message. Look, this event is great. Not only is there going to be a great lineup of speakers, but there's also a great lineup of people in the crowd. That's where the real relationships are made. That's where you can really advance your business. And also with the speakers as well. You can talk to them, you can chat with them, you can ask them questions. It's a small group of people. We do it max 20 people in a room. We hang out for 2 days and talk all things online marketing. If you're running YouTube, there'll be someone there for you. If you're running Facebook, someone's going to be there. Most of the guys are Facebook guys. We got some lead gen, we got some e-com affiliate. We have a little bit of everything, regardless of where you're at in your business. Look, even if you want to build your teams, if you're a single media buyer looking to really ramp things up and get multiple people on your team, structure things out, get systems in place, we have a lot of talks on that as well. So if this is something you're interested in, once again, send me a DM or click the link below and it'll give you more information, and I hope to see you there.
All right, man. Well, let's dive into it. Kind of give people a rundown of who you are, what you do, and how you got into this space. Because like you've been doing it how many years now?
Oh, I don't know. Probably over 10 years. Over 10 years.
Cool, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been saying like 15 years for the last like 5 years, so I don't know what's accurate anymore. You know, so yeah, give us the rundown of that, man. Because like I don't even remember how you got into this.
So I got into the, kind of the affiliate game the way so many people did, which was through Active. It was just the like gatekeeper of the affiliate world, I swear. And
Yeah.
most of my career was in private equity, hedge funds, REITs, all in commercial real estate. Came up with a crazy idea to start a website basically to disintermediate real estate agents. What was funny about that compared to what I do now? So I built this app and it was called Easy Offers or something. Shitty name, shitty domain. I hired a dev company. They built it in .NET. Charged me like
Oh,
way
nice.
too much money. Oh, yeah. So what was interesting is I have this friend who I send the website to, and he goes, "Well, what does it do?" And I was like, "Well, you use it to make an offer on a house, like without a real estate agent." And he goes, "Where does it say that?" This was my first landing page. It didn't say what the product does. So my fuck up was that I would send this to you and I'd be like, "Hey, Gabe, I'm building this thing that allows people to make an offer on a house without a real estate agent." And then I send you the page. So like, you already know. And I just think that like the first page I ever built was so bad. It was so bad. Anyway, obviously didn't work, lost a lot of money, whatever. Spent a bunch of money. Fast forward, I joined a startup out of San Francisco that was in what they call closed loop attribution. Basically, they generate QR codes. You run Facebook ads, you send it to the person, they have a QR code, they redeem it in store, and you have closed loop attribution. And that was kind of my first intro into marketing. And so you would have like a franchise or would push the stuff down to franchisees and whatever. Longer story, shitty business. I mean, this was QR codes before QR codes were a thing, which COVID basically put on the map, right? And then we exited that to Capital One. And after that, I didn't know what I wanted to do next, and I didn't have an idea. And so I was friends with Akatif through some other mutual friends. And so I took a job there, and he's like, "Look, come work here. You can stay here 2 years, 2 months, whatever you want until you figure out what you're going to do next. You're a smart guy. I'm getting you cheap. You can teach some people some things." So I ended up in business development because I've just kind of always been good at sales. And I saw how much money these like affiliates were making. Like all these OG guys. That's how I got to know a lot of them. Was looking at A4D. And I had this brilliant idea that if I wrote a pre-sale for Hippo's Lift and Firm offer, that my affiliates would make more money, which means that I would make more money. And then one day Akatif goes, "Oh," and so I wrote this pre-sale and I was just giving it to affiliates. It took the conversion rate from 0.7 to 2.2.
Oh, crazy. That's a huge jump.
Huge jump. And the reason it jumped so much is all the creatives that had come from Hippo at the time were these saggy arm images, right?
Yeah.
Side story, Dr. Lakey was actually, as we get further in my story, who was the doctor from Beverly Hills MD, was actually one of the authors of the Kids Book business.
Oh, crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when I was going through the script, which is something is a common mistake affiliates make all the time. Have you actually bought the product, read the script of the VSL? You know what it is that you're selling. So as I walked through the transcript, all they were talking about was the saggy neck. So all I did was write a pre-sale about saggy necks and change. And then when I started running traffic, because I was like, Active goes, you can make way more money as an affiliate if you just do that, if you have this skill, which I did not know I have or had or whatever. And so I did. And so that was basically the journey. So all I did was read the transcript, realize that the creatives provided by the advertiser and what other affiliates were running was the wrong focal point. They were focusing on the wrong thing that was not a core position in the VSL. So anyway, so that took off. I did really well. I ended at that point, I was only running Yahoo Gemini. And I had Gemini on lock. I would argue that for a period, I was the best advertiser on Gemini, full stop. And I came to find out years later, not years later, but I came to find out that I was the largest advertiser on Yahoo for 2 years. We were doing no Facebook.
Interesting. What made you do Gemini over Facebook? Because I feel like Facebook, like native was a trend there for a bit, but I feel like most people were still jumping on the Facebook train because it's easy.
Costs. Dude, I was buying 10-cent desktop clicks.
That's so cheap.
So cheap, right?
Yeah.
And so I was just able to be efficient with ad spend. And then of course you hit a point, like the most you can spend on Yahoo in a day was like $100,000. That's like the most, which is a lot, right? To be clear. But you also like, there's frequency capping and all these different sorts of things that we got around. And I think then I was like, all right, we need to get onto Facebook. That's where everybody, is. And I remember when I moved into Facebook, I couldn't make it work. And my dad reminded me of this probably a year or two ago. He goes, do you remember that you ran like 60 days on Facebook unprofitably? And you're like, I can't get it done. Like, I can't make it work. And then you did. And then once you cracked it, it just took off from there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so then we set up an agency, performance agency, basically ragtag group of affiliates. I think we got up to kind of the low 20s in headcount, and we were running a lot of stuff. Primarily health and beauty, a shit ton of refi. Like those were the days. Loved refi. Yeah. And so we did that for a while, and then we got slapped by Facebook policy pretty bad. And we flew down because my rep, who's an idiot, who thought she was smart, decided that because we were having so many policy issues, she would set up a call with the head of policy. Well, let me tell you, Gabe, if you get a lot of speeding tickets in that Porsche of yours, the last person you want to know is the chief of the police, right?
For sure.
Yes. So I go into the conference and dude's yelling at me and whatever. We fly down and go to dinner with him, and he's like, I know what you're doing. And I know it makes money, but we like rainbows and hula hoops and happy things and all these.
I heard the policy guys are completely fucking a different breed. Like they don't give a fuck. Their whole thing is just to gatekeep quality on Facebook, and they don't give a shit about any other department or what the bottom line of Facebook's doing.
So let me tell you about this guy. So I was like, So I was like, how did you get into this business? Like, how did you end up as the hall monitor of the internet?
He worked for the IRS.
No. But he's like, well, I grew up in a very wealthy family, and I was like, oh, like, how'd your family make money? And he was like, oh, like construction. I'm like, oh, like apartment buildings or like tract houses or whatever. And he's like, no, infrastructure. I'm like, infrastructure, like highways and stuff. He's like, no, my family owned desalinization plants. And I'm like, that is another level of rich. And because he's like, I would never need money. So my dad said, get a job doing whatever it is that you love to do. And in the back of my head, I was like, you chose fucking policy of Facebook. So the point is that dude cannot be bought. That
Yeah.
cannot be bought. I have another buddy
Doesn't care.
who works at Facebook, and he tells me how often guys try to buy him off, like all the time.
Yeah.
6-figure numbers, like do this, do that. He's like, it's just, I don't know how they find me, but they do. And they're just like, always like, let me pay you off. But this guy cannot be bought. And I think he enjoyed being a dick. So anyway, so we end this dinner, super weird. I feel so defeated. Like the energy's out of me. Like this was not a fun dinner. Me and my right hand at the time go to this bar across the street, and I'm like, all right, dude, rainbows, hula hoops, happy things. What's the whitest in the white? And kids' books turn out to be extremely white.
Yeah.
And let me say, when you were running kids' books, you can say and do whatever you want, which I was not familiar with that experience. And and so we had that business. The business grew. We exited to Scholastic a little bit over 2 years ago now. And
very cool.
And then jump back into the affiliate game, and then we start, and then that kind of grew. It's turned into a thing, and now we have an agency.
So when you were doing kids' books, like, were you really enjoying that, or did you miss the affiliate side of things? Because
good question.
I don't know if you're like me so much, man, but like sometimes when I'm just letting my media buyers do what they do and I'm not really like in the weeds, I feel like I'm not really doing anything with my fucking life, but once I start running ads and I get those wins and like that dopamine hit, I'm like, okay, this is nice. Like I forget what this is like. So did you like the like easygoing book life?
So I'll tell you when I liked it, and I'll tell you when I didn't like it. I think in the early days when it was a new video game, a new golf course, and it was something hard to figure out, I really, really liked it. There were low points though. There were low points like when the business wasn't working. I was 1.26 million in the hole with personal cash, and my father goes, pull the plug. And I'm like, I'll run this shit into the fucking ground before I give up. And I meant it. And so, but it was this thing that I was going to solve, which is one of the reasons we always look for persistence when you're hiring and whatever. And so then the business grew, and the low points were there were two kind of macro dips over time. One obviously was the iOS 14 one, like that was just terrible. We went from like printing cash to just like a light switch and just tanked. And so then we had to figure that out. And then I think towards the end of that journey, I was really running a business and I wasn't figuring stuff out. And I think structurally we had basically everybody reported to me. So I think I had, I don't know, like 10 or 12 direct reports. And it was just, I was in, HR, accounting, inventory, media, all these, the data finance, like I was just in meetings and I was an operator at that point. And one thing I have learned about myself is I'm a 0 to 1 guy. I'm not a 1 to 2 guy. And I just don't enjoy it. And, like the last, kind of since the tariffs on the agency side, traffic has been highly volatile, and they had the new, I forget the new Facebook algorithm they're calling Andromeda or something like that. I can't remember, but traffic got wonky. So I jumped back in, and I love that. And I love going through the copy, going through the ad campaigns. I like really trying to solve that problem. It scratches an itch. It's sitting back and just making money doing your thing. Just like, I don't know. It's just not as exciting, I guess. Now there's moments where I'm glad when you appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, I do enjoy being in the weeds and figuring stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I'm definitely an operator at times in my business, and I'm just like, this is not my jam at all. Like, I don't want people to report to me. I don't want to be an authority figure. I want to just like, and I've said this a million times, I'd like just like hiding by myself and not having to talk to anyone and just like doing what I want to do.
I have to say, like, I've gone pretty deep into the AI thing, trying to figure a bunch of that out. And so I try to have 1 day a week. So Saturdays, I always work on Saturdays, but like you don't have a lot of inputs on Saturdays, so you get like bigger stuff done. But on Tuesdays, my Tuesdays are generally clear. And those days when you sit and tinker, and you solve these problems, or you make progress in the solution towards the problem, I feel like I've accomplished something, and maybe I've accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
But like, I guess you could say I've learned what doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And so, but those are by far my favorite times.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that, man. I agree with that. Cool. All right. Well, I think we should just dive into the dirty shit, you know, the stuff that works. Like, because you're a very intelligent man when it comes to copy, scaling, all that stuff. You're always deep in the weeds with everything. And I would love for people to listen to this podcast and come out of it and being like, oh fuck, I'm gonna test some stuff. So I guess we just start from scratch right now. And so you're mostly Facebook advertising right now, right?
Yeah, and we're doing a little bit of GDN now, because I think
Okay.
there's a hole in the affiliate market,
Yeah.
outside of the guys running listicles with GDN. And so when I think about how do we grow our business, what are other things that I can sell people?
Yeah.
And as I go through the process, like we do no videos pretty much. We're all static.
Interesting.
And so
Yeah.
if I was doing videos on Facebook, I'm going to do videos on YouTube or vice versa. But for us, I'm like, if I already have the winning creatives and the winning advertorials, like, why should I not be on GDN? And so for me, that game is relearning how to buy on GDN. And sure, we do it on native. Yeah, we could. I've bought on native. I've bought on Pinterest. I've bought on Quora. Like, name it out there. But GDN has a shit ton of scale, and they have the pay for conversion piece.
Yeah.
And that piece it's in a big unlock. And you get stuff dialed, you ramp your budgets, and that shit just works. So
and the stability out of that is insane, right? Like,
yep,
dude. And I feel like that's what we all chase in this business, especially if we're running like Facebook mostly, you know, like everyone's just like tired of the roller coaster. Oh, bad day on Facebook, great day on Facebook, whatever.
there's a big
Go for it.
affiliate who flies very much under the radar. He was big years ago, and Israeli dude, and I touch base with him every now and then. And a couple of years ago, I caught up with him, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, we got out of Facebook, we got out of native. All we do is GDN." And I was like, "Really? Like, what do you do?" He goes, "We're running about 300. There's a team of 3, and we're running about 300 campaigns a day." And right, so this is amazing. So he's like, and a network will pitch me an offer, and I'll say, okay, but I don't ever want it to pause. And then he'll run between 1 and 5 sales a day per campaign per offer. And the affiliate managers will call him up and is like, dude, how do I get you from 5 to 10? Like, I'll take you from straight to, you know, something else. He's like, don't care. Like, I don't care. He's like, because if you pay me more or you increase my margin, I'm not going to touch the campaigns that I have dialed. And so for him, what he was looking for was stability. And so you have all these campaigns, and they all just run. And assuming those offers, once they kind of lock in, don't pause, he has fairly predictable cash flow, and he has measured risk. And it was just a really interesting way to see how he approached it. But, you know, he was a scale hard guy, big numbers. And then he just got over it, you know? And I think one of the reasons that we took a look at moving into the agency game instead of the affiliate world, and I've said this to all my friends in the space, I got tired of the highs and lows. Can you make more money as an affiliate? 100%. I have no doubt that you can. However, I got tired of waking up and going, shit, I lost 10 grand today, and then tomorrow I made 30. And so my whole day was contingent upon how numbers looked when I woke up that morning.
I know that feeling. So does my wife.
Right. So right. So that's the thing. It's like, do you want Saturday? You want to get lunch today? No. Everything fucking should hit. Everything fucking crashed today. Nothing hit. I don't want to leave my house.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I got to figure this out, you know, like, so dude, I agree. And so what's interesting is you do call yourself an agency now, but what's interesting about it is I don't want to say you're running affiliate offers, but you are running like ClickBank style stuff still, right? But you just have direct deals with the offer owners, which opens up so much more opportunity into the creatives you get, the angles you get, the changes that they can make on their end that tie to what you're doing, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so we run a pretty broad mix now. And so we run some ClickBank style, we run some telemedicine, and we run some e-com. And so, and I think that e-com for the most part is going to be our future, mostly because there's way more e-com advertisers. And this is, by the way, not a pitch that everybody should open up an agency.
Yeah.
It has its own set of problems. But I was like, dude, there's so many e-com offer owners, and I'm not talking DFO giddy up. I'm talking, I'm talking tried and true e-com offers. I was at a conference in New York, best conference I've ever been to, outside of Geek Out last summer. And I got into that room. Like I did not belong there. It was brands, VCs, and PE that were doing at least 100 million a year. It was 150 people. The keynote was from Harvey Finkelstein of Shopify interviewing Mickey Drexler. For you young guys who don't know who he is, go Google him. You'll know all the brands. And they were talking about Facebook, and as you know, in the room and over lunches and dinners and stuff. And one of the things that came up was Facebook is sucking really bad. And everybody was like, okay. And what is so bananas to me is in our world, when Facebook is doing bad, everybody's like, Facebook's sucking for you? Yes, blah, blah. And everybody's grumpy and pissed off. These guys don't care as much. Not that they don't care, but they don't care as much. And I think a lot of that comes down to, you have this brand and the brand is growing and you've raised some private equity, you've raised some VC. On the VC side more than the PE side, they know that most of those deals are going to fail. I gave you 30 million, Gabe, go do what you can. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We have a diversified portfolio and we'll go again. And so I'm like, shit, on the agency side, how do you get these guys who care less about the day-to-day operations and functionality of their business, who zoom out and look back? So let me tell you one of the surprising things that happened when we moved to agency. And to be clear, I spent most of my career talking shit on agencies. They don't care enough. They don't clip hourly. And we operate like affiliates. We just get paid.
Same. Yeah, but you're not really like a traditional agency,
No, we're not. But what happened was there were two things that were surprising to me. The first was our performance improved. Sharper. And I was like, why? And so I don't know this for a fact, but this is my hypothesis. If you work for me, and we're on affiliate, I have a gun to the side of your head all day, every day, make fucking money, don't lose.
Yeah.
In the agency model, I just put the gun on the table. You still see it. And you know that gun's there. But I feel that when we pulled the pressure off, the guys weren't making as quick, or the decisions are still made quick, but they're not as erratic.
Not reckless.
Yeah, and both, we've had guys over the years that have gotten laid off for gambling, right? They're in the hole, so they're doubling really. I'm like, that's not media buying. And then I've had guys that are so scared to spend. And I'm like, you have these campaigns that are working, you're not making enough money to cover your fucking salary. That's great that you didn't lose, but we lost. And then the other thing that was wildly interesting was for those advertisers that have offers that scale, were actually a less expensive option, because an affiliate for the most part has to run at a 20 to 30% margin, because the link's going to break. You're going to get scrubbed. Your shit happens, right? The processing goes down. The mids fail. Shopify used to go down all the time on the book business. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But if we're operating it for round numbers, we're more than this. But if we're operating at, let's say 10%, but they have to pay an affiliate CPA that achieves 20 to 30%, assuming all of our CPAs are the same, the advertiser makes more money. And I remember the first time somebody said that to me, I was like, why do you choose agencies? We make more money with you. And I was like, that's very interesting. And so, yeah, those were my two big takeaways. My surprise.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. back to the point about like you not being a regular agency. It's like it's more performance based versus like a agency is just like, hey, we're just going to spend more. These are the random metrics that don't really mean shit, and then
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like,
and then blame the offer or the product.
yeah. And, which, that goes back to the client profile of who do you work with?
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, we operate as affiliates. We're paid like an agency. That's literally
yeah,
the thing. Your offer doesn't scale. I don't want it. Right.
yeah,
Which is true. If you have
yeah.
offer that I'm doing 10 sales a day, that's all I can get to. I lose money on that. So I'm not running that.
Yeah. Interesting, man. Well, that's cool. So let's go back to things. So what I found interesting is you only run image. Now,
Yeah.
I personally love image. I think it's great. What we do find is we run into a lot of issues with like a low intent rate on the lead side of things. So video obviously costs more, but we find that it definitely has a higher quality customer, right? My thought there though is like you guys like, and you were telling me this before, but your landing pages or hot pages or pre-sale pages, they're very dialed in, right? Like you're going line by line, making sure it all flows together perfectly. Versus on the lead gen side, nobody fucking does that anymore. I think, and I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people don't. And we're mostly what you see is like hot pages that are just like image, like before and after, just like, are you between the ages of this? Click here.
Yeah.
It's pretty lazy shit. So can we kind of dive into that and how come you chose image over video?
So I think the first thing that's important is you got to stick to your knitting. So what are we really good at? We're really good at copy and we're really good at images. And have we done video? Sure. Am I capable? Yes. But I view that as a distraction in our current business. And it is an offering that will come, particularly as I look at AI and the ability to test a bunch of videos and stuff. But if you go back 2 years ago, it's a lot of work to create videos. I also believe that videos introduce a drastically larger number of variables in your creative process. So what did she sound like? What was her hair like? Is she wearing glasses or not glasses? Does she have blue eyes? Does she have green eyes? What's her background? All of this is independent of the message, assuming the person has the same message. So we learned that when you test, offers for, this is tactical for people who use static, gray, short hair, black glasses, bright red lipstick, blue eyes.
Interesting.
So I know this. I've tested. Like I know this. So, and I have no doubt that that is the winner. And so like I just reduced a shit ton of variables versus now you got to go get a creator, and it's probably way easier animating AI now, but I'm talking 2 years ago, right? And and we have the ability to test and iterate way faster. And we had a framework for that, and that's what we did, and that's what has worked for us, and that is what has allowed us to grow. And I don't know, I guess it just goes back to stick to your knitting. Also, if you were running VSL traffic, not ecom or lead gen, but VSL traffic, the heavy lift is done by the offer.
Yeah.
So all the ad needs to do is agitate, drive curiosity, give them some hope, and qualify the potential customer. And it is way cheaper than video.
Interesting. So since you gave like the perfect avatar there, are all your images animated then or done through AI?
All of them.
Interesting. So you don't use any real people?
Zero.
Except for like what AI does. And you've always done that?
No, we did it as soon as it was available. Like you got to remember, Midjourney is 2 years old, right? Like we started doing it at the tail end of the book business. And dude, like we were using Adobe stock and, and people submitting photos of their kids, and we had some UGC for this, and we had a whole process for that. But now why? Right? Like, why? And so, we don't use real people.
That's so interesting, man. Because like for us, at least what we see on our side, and maybe this is due to a lack of testing, but real images work, shitty images work. Like I spend hours on Reddit finding stuff
Mhm.
because I think those images work great, right? And that's like a good tip for people. Of finding shit that people have posted there.
Yeah, so we like historically our best images were always taken with a phone. Like
Yeah.
it was just we would set something up. Like refi is a great example. I got
Yeah.
$10,000 in cash. Let's
Yeah.
go think of crazy things to take photos of. One of the best images I ever had. My mom had this at their house. She had this like deer. I don't know how tall it was, probably 18 inches
Yeah.
with its head down, and then the horns were gold. So I took
Yeah.
$10,000 in cash, put it behind the horns, took a photo of that, refi fire. Another one I
Interesting.
had was I took, and this is where I think of the small things. So I took a bunch of cash, and I forget what amount of money it is, but you get the band that's around,
Yeah.
the color.
Yeah.
There's one that's purple. And when you take it, and so I always used the purple images or the purple bands, independent of the size of the cash, because when you pop the saturation on the image, the purple really popped. And
Yeah.
so, I had another great one, which was my dog had this like blue hard rubber chew toy and he chewed it into pieces. And I put it around cash on my desk and took a photo of that. And then I took a
Mhm.
flashlight, like one of those bright enough to blind a bear that got banned from Yahoo.
Yeah.
Everybody was running flashlights. And then I took a flashlight and did that, where I put cash in a clear plastic cup and I put it in the sink of my shitty apartment where I was starting. Blue
Yeah.
flashlight there. Like it's that kind of stuff. And so I do think to your point about using AI, it is very hard to ideate and think through those random photos
Yeah.
versus, all right, Gabe, go walk around your house and just take a shit ton of photos with $10,000 in cash wherever you want.
Yeah.
And what you get is like bizarre and wild and it looks authentic. And that's
Yeah.
probably the hardest part with AI.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree. So with the AI stuff, and like just to clarify, are you looking for more animated stuff on AI? Are you trying like because I know that AI can make real people. Like it can look at like you like the dude. I'm also thinking about this conversation in like 5 years from now and just being like, what a fucking dumb conversation. And start talking about AI, right? Like,
I mean, your
but
son's going to go, you had to go to Google? What
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But so are you doing like more animated style stuff? Or are you going for like, hey, AI, make this exact real person with these attributes, so on and so forth?
I'll tell you exactly what I'm working on this week,
Okay.
and sort of what scratches my itch and where I think the opportunity is. So for us, you have two big pieces. I think you have your ad copy and you have your images. I think
Yeah.
advertorial still handwritten is still the best way to go because it provides so much value and it will last so long. Like one of our
Mhm.
best advertorials, dude, I can't tell. Dude, we have six figures in conversions behind one of them. And it's
That's amazing.
basically been the same. We beat it in the middle of last year to the 6 months. And we beat
Yeah.
it like this, right? It
Yeah.
works. Um, for anybody that's going to go out and go try to find my pre-sale, I'll hunt you down and I'll fucking kill you. I do not believe in it. So let's just make that clear. Bring the full force of everything I can think of, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we'll just get
Oh,
that.
that's so funny.
Um,
Most a lot of lead gen guys here. You're fine, man.
so, so I think that when you take a look at the AI models, GPT is the best for images in terms of being able to control how the image is delivered. You can be more descriptive and iterate faster and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ideogram, by the way, is the best for faces. Midjourney is probably the best quality broadly.
Yeah.
So, and then there are all these different other models and whatever. And so I was like, we're having these guys go into Ideogram, Midjourney, GPT, and they like type in a prompt and then they wait a fucking minute and then it gives them a thing and they're like, no, and then they got to go again and so on and so forth. So I built a thing in N8N. I hired a guy, found him on Twitter, hired this guy, built the template, looked at the template, really understood how it was done. And then I started fucking around with it. And then I realized what was possible. And then I went back and I paid the guy another couple bucks that he's currently working on to build the next iteration.
Mhm.
Basically, you can run AI images through ChatGPT in parallel. So I can give it a prompt and it can do 10 images at once. And so now all of a sudden my creative output went up. And when I take a look at creative output, if you're a media buyer and you open up a Dropbox or a Google Drive or whatever it is that you're on, and there's like 40 images for you to choose from, that's like way easier than like a guy taking time to like create this image, and then it's like not that close, and then you have to send it back. So you really increase the output. And so that's one piece. And then we connected it to Telegram. So you like in Telegram, I do this. How many images do you want? What model do you want to use? What quality, which we generally start with low to keep the tickets down. And then you have your seed images. So give me more of these. Right. And so now all I'm doing is really increasing the output of the images so that the media buyer can go in and decide what it is they want to run. So that seems pretty straightforward. But then you take a look at copy. And I haven't started working on this, but this is sort of my ethos in terms of what we want to do. So we built a bunch of copy bots, took all our old winners, like we have this thing, but for like every different vertical, like we have to have different kind of prompting language and so on and so forth. The piece that's missing that I'm working on solving now is if you have basically all your training docs, right? So like this long thing that's like, give me images in this style that sound like this, don't do this other thing. And I run some copy through it and it gives me a response. And then I go in and I'm like, stop using those long hyphenated stuff that all the marketers know screams AI, or do this other thing. Well, instead of basically using the C documents, getting an output, and then having this conversation with the output, what I want it to do is then take what I just told it, go back, add or edit the training doc, and then give me the image or the copy, off of the training doc that you just iterated. And so now what I'm doing is I'm not workshopping the copy, I'm workshopping the training doc. So the training doc continually gets better and better and better so that as we progress, the result is more consistent and just better, which means that it's faster. And so those are the two things that I'm really working on. And then when I think about video, like I've seen what guys are doing on video and the, just sort of the output that they have. I think Andre had a post on Twitter, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, where he's launching 100 ads a day, video ads. And it was really an interesting, it was a real interesting post. And so now the next thing I'm thinking of is, all right, so there is no limit in the creative output that I can make. Let's assume both of these are working and as expected. So I can put up 100 fresh ads every day. I can put up 1,000 every day, no problem. How do you buy with that? And so one of the things that came up on a call with one of the media buyers on my team this week was we used to run headline 1, ad text 1, headline 1, ad text 2, and then headline 2, ad text, whatever. And we're looking for statistical relevance to find the winning combination.
Yeah.
When we find that, then we iterate the images off of it, and we basically have a process in how we approach it. But we opened up this campaign, and this campaign has made money every single day. And what's interesting about it is one ad. Cool, happens to everybody, no surprises there. The bitch of it is there was no corollary in the rest of the ad sets in that campaign that said that headline 1, ad text 2, and image 5 was the winner. And so now I have this thesis. This is brand new, hot off the presses. I've been talking about it a bunch the last 2 days, where when you have high creative output, you're not looking for the winning element, you are looking for the winning ad. Because if that ad works, I drop it into a big CBO. So when I think about scaling and like, what is the desired outcome that I'm looking for? I'm looking for winners that I can drop into large scale CBOs. That's literally what I'm looking for. Now, previously I was like, all right, I just need 10 different avatars, 10 different angles, whatever it is. But I was thinking more macro. And now I think with this output, I'm more focused on singular ads, singular assets that can scale. And then I want to just put those into the big CBO. And so anyway, this is what I spend a lot of my time thinking about, where it's like, all right, is all these tools are coming and they're moving way faster than anybody had expected.
So I just want to clarify that though, because you say ad, right? So are you saying the image creative itself or the full combination as the ad?
The post ID.
The actual post ID. Okay, so that takes to. So I have a theory with that too, and like, sure, all these combinations matter, but I also feel that like delivery matters and how it's served right off the rip, right? And then sometimes
100%.
these post IDs just make such a massive difference that there is no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like that one worked and that one's going to hit and that one's going to hold just based off maybe the engagement or whatever it may be right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Right.
So so I'm with you on this. And like, this was just an example that I saw 2 days ago that it like made me like resurface this, what some might call a tin hat or limiting belief or whatever, but like, I really believe that. Because I look at it this way. If you and four buddies, back to my transition to cowboy. So you and four buddies, there's 5 of you go hunting for deer and you walk into the forest and one guy goes this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way. And the deer is in spot number 4. The guy in spot number 1 is like, there's no deer here. So he's got to hump over to spot number 2, no deer. Humps over to spot number 3, no deer. Humps over to spot number 4. He's like, this place fucking sucks. There's no deer. The guy who just goes straight to spot number 4 is like, this is the best hunting day of my entire goddamn life. Like, I woke up, walked out 100 yards, there was a deer, shot him. You guys were gone for hours. I drank all the beer. Fuck off. Right? Like, so, because is Facebook.
This is why Chad works. Like the Chad method works on some level, right? Because it's like they're not thinking about every fucking variation of an ad. They're just throwing mud against the wall and be like, hey, that stuck. So I threw like an extra 20 grand at it and it stuck some more. And then like I did nothing.
Yeah. And
I'm going to do that again.
Yeah. And so I think it just changed where our goal was. And the goal is to find a winning asset, singular, rather than a winning headline or ad text or image or whatever, with statistical relevance that I was like, this works. So now we're going to move to phase 2, because you just have so much output that you can generate very quickly for a very small price. Then
are you testing an ABO? Sorry.
Yeah. So this is a great segue to where I was going to go next. So we do test in ABO. So like we always have, because I want to control the spend. So one of the things that has come up with, and Andre talked about this in his post too, but like, if he puts 100 up, he runs bid caps and CBO. The problem with that method, as I see it, and we're testing this, so I don't have any concrete evidence behind this yet, but like, this is just how I'm thinking about it. If you do that, you're using Facebook's AI out of the gate to effectively decide the value of an individual asset, individual posting, right? Using their Bayesian method or whatever. But now I'm like, okay, what if I run all of them? Ad set budget is one ad set. So I force spend on all of them. And then how much do I need to spend on all of those ads over what time period to give Facebook enough data to then make the informed decision off of a CBO and a bid cap? I don't know what that answer is, but there's only one limitation. The limitation is the budget and what is your efficiency. So I had a call with the guy yesterday who on my team, who I'm working very closely with, that is like running through these processes as we figure out the testing strategy. And I was like, if we did a 5x5x5, we end up at 125 ad sets. We spend $10 a day. And that's like, wow, we are going to have some very unhappy clients. So then I'm like, all right, well, what are the variables that are going to matter the most? And what are the ones that we know like always work? And so what we decided was that we're going to test 2 headlines. I have my winners. They work on fucking everything, right? So we're going to run these 2 headlines. And then we're going to focus the most on terms of volume, images. And then the second one is the ad text. The reason is because if I output 20 ad text, let's say, even if I'm only changing the lead or just the hook, we always run hook, lead that way. Always like a scroll stuff at the top. It takes a lot of time to read through that copy, but the images I can see, and it's very cool. You can, if I sent you 50 images, you could power through those in a couple minutes. You're like, these are the ones I like. Let's go. But if I sent you 50 ad text and headlines, like it's going to take you a minute. So all of a sudden you have a bottleneck. So where I'm thinking that this is going to go is you test with ad set budgets. You give Facebook enough data over enough time don't know what that is. You flip it, clip off of some metric, like, dude, my CPCs on this one, or CPMs are stupid high, or the lander CTR isn't good enough. And then we flip it to CBO. And what was interesting that came up in this conversation yesterday is the difference between statistical relevance and what I call likely unlikely. So, for example, I go, look, we spent $10 on this ad set. Each click is $1. Standard CTR is, for round numbers, let's say it's 50%, which is high, but let's call it 50%. And an ad set has one click. Do you keep or kill? And he's like, well, you don't have any statistical relevance. So you keep it, because tomorrow it could get 8 on 10 clicks, right? 8 clicks off the lander, and then you're back in the money. I was like, you're totally right. Is it likely or unlikely that that is going to happen?
Unlikely.
It is unlikely. So you kill it, right? And so now what I'm finding is in these conversations is the way that we trained everybody to be very methodical in statistical relevance. This is your winning headline. This is your ad text. Let's move from testing copy to testing creatives, and then we'll get scale up, and then we'll really dive in on testing the landers. I'm like, we just need one. We just need those post IDs that work. And so what is the most efficient way to find them?
Yeah. You know, what's interesting on this is like, so my original way of running is slightly different than how I do now, but I still think my original way works. But besides, so I used to do dynamics, but like, let's remove that element of it.
Yeah.
But my argument is like, let's say you're launching 20 different creatives at the start of the week, right? They're launched because let's say it's lead gen, they're launched for 9 a.m. on Monday. You see that 2 of them hit or 3 of them hit. They look decent, they're break even or they're profitable. Cool. You let those run to the next day. But my argument is like, besides the winners, if you pause and redupe the losers multiple times that week, so let's say you do it all the way till Friday, you're going to see different results on that based on how that's delivered. So realistically, you could start the week with 2 winners. By the end of the week, you have 5 winners, right? So it's like, then you run into the issues like, do you trust that data of how it was first delivered and just assume it's going to get better? Or are you like trying to force the hand to get like a different set of cards every day to prove if that's good or not?
Yeah, I would argue that that is a strategy. It's not the strategy. And what I mean by that is, I think very often in our space, it's like, what's the way? I'm like, there's no fucking
There is no way.
There's no way. It's not videos. It's not statics. It's not direct. It's not lander. Like, and I think that people are constantly looking for the strategy, and what it comes down to, in my belief, is what is the system that works the best for you and or your team and or your organization and or your client.
Yeah. And I also think what works best for you mentally, because I think, and I don't know about you, but I've tried so many people's methods. Like I hear about this new method, I'm like, fuck yeah, I got to try that. Never works. I go back to how I did shit, works every time. And I think it has to do something with the confidence that I have in the method because I've proven it.
Yes.
Right. Not someone's like that. Some hearsay about what's working. Right. Yeah. And I think that's a massive part of it, is just having confidence in your method. Right. Cause like some shit doesn't mean anything. Like you hear about these people, you don't know what the fuck they're doing. You don't know if like what they're saying is actually true. I've met so many people that are successful, but are terrible at telling you how they're successful. And they may be missing like one major element to the story. Be like, all you got to do is this, 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 and this. And then you start, as you get older, you start asking different questions. You'll be like, okay, well, are you doing this, this, and then you're like, oh, well, that's why you're fucking successful. It's not because of the shit that you just told me for half an hour before this.
Yeah. So I think confidence is a big part, because when you have confidence or you have a way that you do it, you are okay holding on. You are okay testing with larger budgets, which means faster. I don't know, like if we went heavy into videos and I said, hey, tomorrow, we're going to start doing videos. It's going to be 50% of our output. Well, I don't have a process baked. Do I have the right guys in the right seats to make the videos? Am I using the right tools? Am I buying the right way? And I'm like, I don't know. That's like a lot. And I wouldn't go there until it was Charlie Munger had this comment, which I'll butcher highly. but it was don't move on to the next thing until you have the current thing on lock. And that's part of their investment thesis. So they invest in what they know. And then once they know that, only then do they move to the next thing.
Yeah. I think that's smart. One of my good friends is probably one of the most successful media buyers that I know. And like a majority of people know who I'm talking about here, but like, dude, that guy swears by images. He's been doing this shit since like 2017.
Are you
And
talking about
like,
me right now? Is that what you're talking about?
no, definitely not. I don't really know your full method, but like, dude, he swears by image, big image guy. That's all he does. And it's just like the same style of image, everything. It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. That's cool, man. Um, it's hard to get lost in the sauce with like all the different testing methods and like strategies. And I feel like if you're like a beginner media buyer, you just kind of take hearsay as like, this is the way I'm going to be rich like this.
I hear a lot that, media, it's all the creative matters and the media buying doesn't. And that's not true. The media buying matters on some level. If it didn't matter at all, you would hire your kid's sister to run all your traffic.
Yeah.
Right. And so like what we see with the team, or that we've seen this over the years, you give them a foundation. Like we would basically, most of the guys we train from the ground up. And so they do it our way. And then fast forward a year later, they're doing our way. They're doing a version of our way, which is now their way, because it works in their workflow or how they think about it. And there's no silver bullet. It's persistence, but like it just comes down to what works for you.
And I will say on your comment about like you do need to be a good media buyer, but I would argue that a good creative will show its cards before your skill set steps in, right? Like you'll be like, because I'm sure you've seen with your media buyers be like, oh, bro, like if I had that creative right now, like we can crank on this. You just got to do these 3 things,
It's true.
So creative is big.
It matters more than media buying. So I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that like only creative matters is not true.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I got to ask you one question. We'll end it here. So you're deep in the agency thing. What's kind of your next steps? And like, what's your, like, do you have like a retirement plan? Do you just want to like live on a ranch and do nothing with the rest of your life once you hit a certain amount? Or like, what's sort of the next like 5 years look like for Jason?
I think for us, when we take a look at the agency, the goal is stability, doing something we like, and just sort of consistent cash flow. And so, could we move, will we get to 100 million a year in spend 80? But like the goal is a small team. And I want to be special ops, special forces, shit that scales, the clients that we want to work with. And as you start increasing the agency and the headcount and the fixed overhead and all of these things, like you at some point don't have the flexibility to choose what you work on and with whom. I do not want that. So you have the agency and let's just move it over here. And then the thing is I'm going to build something else and I have some ideas and whatever, but I need to go back to that tinkering thing like I'm doing now with AI because it scratches an itch. And so one of the benefits that everybody probably listening is marketers to this interview has, you can test because you know traffic and you can fail fast. So versus, you go ask your neighbor across the street and he's like, dude, I got this idea for this app. And so I'm going to go build this like whole thing and whatever. You're like, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go rip a landing page, change the product in the page, throw up some ads, run through it and see what the funnel metrics look like. And by the way, I might not even have the card processing set up. I might refund the people because we don't even have any inventory.
Yeah.
And so I think with the skill set that, that we have as marketers, the ability to test quickly and fail fast is really interesting. And I think the other piece of it is like with the last business, you learn some of the things that are your can't haves and your must haves, right? So, you have a lovely wife. She's great. But before you met your wife, you probably dated, let's go back 5 or 10 years before, right? You dated a woman who, let's say she snores and you're like, dude, I can't sleep. I'm a light sleeper. I now know that I can never be in a serious relationship with somebody who snores or doesn't like dogs or chews with their mouth open, right? And over time it started to build. So really what I think a lot about too is what are the characteristics of a business that I would want to build? One of them for sure is some type of subscription component that is built in natively to the product. Right. And so that's why I'm super bullish on telemedicine, for example. It is inherently a subscription product. Or SaaS, inherently subscription. And then the other thing I think about, and there's a million of them, but if I'm going to invest and go build something, what has the potential to be $100 million business? And the book business did not in kids books, unless we moved into other verticals. The kids book business was $1 billion a year business with single digit growth year over year. And so the only way for us to grow is to take market share. Well, in our third year, we were already the 10th largest in the country. So like, how much effort does it take to move to 9, to 8, to 7? You're making sneakers and you're number 3. How much is it going to take to beat Nike?
Yeah.
Like that lift is massive. And so I think about those characteristics, and then I think about building a product that I actually want to gift to people. This was one of my favorite things about the book business. Your son's the right age if we had these books now, but I'm like, dude, we have great products. I love them. I'm going to send you all these products. You're the fucking best. And so some of the stuff we sell is not the best product, but whatever. And so I think about building a business and a product or a service that I'm very proud of is important. I really enjoyed that about the kids book business.
It also makes it as a marketer easier to advertise it, push it, like, because if you love your product, there's going to be a lot of other people that love it the same. I think that like, and that just makes life 10 times easier,
It does.
Like I'll tell people about shit that I like constantly, and I don't even own any of it, but like that in itself will just grow and make a business massive without even any marketing.
That's right. And then, by the way, I'll be on a ranch at some point and not talk to anybody. You can come over and have a whiskey. So
that's nice. Well, I'll probably be within an hour of you in one way or another. So it'll work out.
That's good.
Awesome, man. You're pretty active on Twitter. You drop a lot of bombs on there. What is your handle over there? I guess it's called X now. I'm just old as fuck and call it Twitter.
It's Jason Kutasi, my full name. So
that's easy. Yeah. And that's kind of the best way to chat with you over there, right?
Yeah. I'm not that active on Facebook or Instagram. Dude, I have like 300 Instagram requests that come in. And if I don't know you, I don't add you on Instagram.
Yeah.
So don't add me there. But
dude, I get so many.
But Instagram's good. That's probably the best place. I do get some cold pops on Telegram. Please don't.
Yeah.
I'll respond.
How shitty is Telegram for fucking spam, man? Like, I miss Skype.
Dude, first of all, if my wife wasn't in the space, and for those of you listening, my wife manages a bunch of affiliate managers at DFL. But with the chick spam that you get and the text message and whatever, if she was a jealous woman, which she is not. So that piece is also, but she's also getting chicks that hit her up. That's like, hey, baby, like that kind of stuff.
Dude, they straight call. I get calls all the time. I'm like, what is this from fucking Rosie? I'm like, get this shit out of here. It's just some Indian dude on the other end being like, oh, I'm going to get this fucker. He's going to send me money. I don't care if that's racist. Fuck you guys. Anyway.
We did have a guy hack our Instagram on Christmas Day for the book business. And
oh, shit. Did you have to pay him?
I did.
Damn. I
paid him $2,000 of PayPal.
Wow.
He wanted Bitcoin. I was like, I don't have Bitcoin. Like, if you want me to go learn how to, I'm in zero crypto. So I was like, if you want me to go to learn how to do all this shit to send you Bitcoin, you can just keep my Instagram, or I can just PayPal you. And the guy's mind was like blown. Yeah. He's like, you're going to let me keep it so you don't have to learn a thing? I was like, yeah, just go build a real Instagram profile. And we ran off that Instagram page, Kids Books, right?
Yeah. And if he only knew what you would have paid.
That's my point. He left so much money on the table on Christmas morning. The dude, and so as time went, my wife is like, when are you going to come upstairs? When are you going to come upstairs? So it was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And you spend all Christmas Day talking to this guy who just hacked your Instagram. I don't know how high it could have gotten. Probably 20 grand. Probably 20 grand would have been the number. Oops.
I feel like when you're in this space, you kind of just don't give a shit. Like I was telling you this, like, dude, it's just like part of the game. Losing money is just part of it, and I kind of don't care. You know? Yeah. It's just whatever it may be that's taking your money. You're just like, yeah, I'm used to this. Take it.
No, we buy an expensive. This is a horrible mentality. It is it is not good.
Yeah.
But when I think about the cost of certain things, so let's assume you want to buy something that's like 10 grand that you don't need.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could wake up tomorrow and I could make 25. No big deal.
Yeah.
I could also wake up tomorrow and lose 25. So that 10 grand, at least I got this watch. It's just, that's how it is. Your perception of money just goes out the window.
I used to have this media buyer, and like I every once in a while we'd like bring all of the team together and go out and do fun shit. And it was actually here in Austin, and he did this a lot actually. But whenever he'd get drunk, I'd be like, oh yeah, we'll like get a table at a club or something. I'm not a big club guy, but like if I'm going to a club, I want to sit at a table because like I just want to fucking sit down, you know? Like I want to be the old guy that's be like, I will drink and bob my head to this music. Anyway. But no matter the price, he'd always be beside me. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'll make that tomorrow. I'm like, will you though? Will you? And that was his thing. He said that fucking everywhere. Like, even if it was like a huge dinner and I'm like, I'm paying the bill, obviously. He's like, don't worry, I'll make it up tomorrow. We're fine. I'm like, okay, bro. Okay. Anyway, on that note, let's fucking call it. Thank you again, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's great. And I guess I'll see you next week, man. Yeah.